Hey, Coach, I have a couple of questions. The first one's about Tyler Shuck, him getting in. Had a chance to interview him about, his decision, the reason why he chose Texas Tech, and all that. I want to get your perspective on his recruitment and what he brings to the program.
Yeah, Jared, I think first of all, Tyler brings some experience. He brings a competitive nature. You can already see that in 2 practices. He's played, had significant playing time out there at Oregon and played well. He is going to bring competitive depth to that room. There's going to be a good quarterback competition all spring through the summer. That's the first of all, in his recruitment process, the first part of your question. That was a 10-day process that was, fairly significant in terms of the conversations and the recruiting and the Zoom and all the things that we had to do and involved with his, Tyler, his mom and his dad. And great family. Glad to have him as a Red Raider. He's fit right in really, really quickly. And 2 days in, he's had to be in helmets and jerseys just because of the acclimatization rule. Friday morning, he'll be in shoulder pads and then full gear on Saturday morning.
Speaking of full gear, that's my second question. That was today, the 4th practice. Real football, you've talked about it. I certainly think it's not real until they get full contact. Who showed out? What offensive linemen? What defensive linemen? Linebackers? All that. Who made plays in the first day of full pads?
Yeah, some of the highlights. Before I get into the O-line and the D-line, some of the highlights. Big interception at the end. Marquise Waters, first thing. Second thing I would say is the receivers, the outside receivers, I thought had a really good day. They came down with some 50-50 competitive catches. Eric Ezekama, Trey Cleveland, J.J. Sparkman, Jerron Bradley, Loic made a diving catch. Just saw a bunch of big catches by our outside receivers. And those are the first impressions. O-line, D-line, I'm going to need to watch the tape. Just came off the practice field and really haven't watched the tape. So probably reserve comment until I see that on those guys.
Go to Leah Doherty / David Collier.
Yeah, Coach. It's kind of weird being out there today and seeing 7 quarterbacks lined up. You mentioned the competitive depth earlier. How nice is it to have so many guys out there working and getting able to get working in a
About competitive.
Yeah, kind of lost you there, David. But I think you were talking about the QBs and the depth. That's kind of what I got before you cut out. Yeah, there is. Good competitive depth. I mean, you said 7. Obviously, you can't play all those guys, and the reps are limited. The reps are divvied out from Skelly to one-on-ones to 9-on-7 to the team drills, and we always say those reps are earned, not given, and they continue to be earned. Coach Cumbie does a good job. He's rotating those guys around, but ultimately, we have to have one win it and take the reins to begin with, but we have to build the depth in that room. You've got 2 young freshmen, Barron and Donovan, that haven't played much at all here. Maverick, redshirt freshman's played very little. Henry needs reps as he continues to improve, and he has done that. And then obviously you added Tyler to the mix. And so it does make for a competitive room. I think those guys are taking coaching really well, and this thing is going on. It'll go the rest of spring through the summer.
Go to Sam.
Hey, Matt, coming into spring, given just the unusual circumstances last year, did you make any tweaks to your spring plan, or are you doing anything differently this spring than maybe you've done in the past in terms of how you set things up?
Yeah, we're a little later, Sam, than we have been the last couple years. Wanted to get 7.5 weeks of off-season strength and conditioning. We made some really good gains. I think that's the first thing. We backed it up just a little bit. We're going back-to-back practices, I think 3 times. That's a little tougher on the guys, which I think is good. We've gone from 3 scrimmages to 2 scrimmages. And that some of that is because we have some veterans coming back that have played a lot of ball, and I don't need to see them in a ton of live reps. But we need practice reps, and we like today we did 10 minutes of live at the end of practice. So we'll have 2 major scrimmages, so that's a little bit of a change. Typically we have 3, so the 2 scrimmages will be next Friday night, April 2nd, and then the spring game on the 17th.
Go to Brandon Solis.
Yeah, Coach, just noticed Kobe Minor out there looked like he had a pretty solid day. What are your expectations for him, and kind of where does he need to take his game during the spring? Yeah,
Kobe had a couple big PBUs today. He continues to flash. He's a true freshman coming off his true freshman year. He's fast. He's athletic. He's gotten bigger in the weight room. I think he's a pretty coachable kid. We'll continue to see. I think time will tell with Kobe. He's going to get a lot of reps. I know Coach Jones is excited about him. So is Coach Patterson. But, yeah, he did. He flashed a couple times today. And, with those freshmen, what they got to do is they got to learn. And I think Kobe will learn this. They all will. But you have to stack success on top of each other day after day after day. You develop an accountability, you develop a consistency, and that's what coaches want to see in young players. And so it'll be interesting to see Kobe the rest of the way, but he certainly flashed today and had a really good practice today.
Go to Don.
Matt, seeing Donovan Smith out there in the early portions of practice that we are able to view, he appears to be doing what the other quarterbacks are doing. I remember you said before spring that he would be on limited pitch count. Is that still the case, or has he progressed maybe a little earlier or faster in his recovery?
Yeah, Don definitely has progressed. Drew, our trainer, is extremely pleased. He is not on a pitch count currently. He's doing everything that everybody else is, and he's looking good doing it. He's got a really good arm. He's athletic. He's bright. And so, again, another young quarterback that just needs a ton of reps.
Back on Tyler Shuck for a moment. To what extent is he helped by having been in a college program for 3 years, having started for a full season, albeit a short and full season, for a good Power 5 conference team, and how much of a leg up does that give him, considering that most of the guys in your room lack his experience?
I think, Don, that helps Tyler in terms of confidence. He's calm, kind of lets the game come to him. When I say that, that's based on me on 2 practices watching him. There is a calmness to him. There is a confidence. He's had live bullets, coming at him in the Pac-12, and certainly those practice reps at Oregon. He's been the number 1 backup for 2 years behind Justin Herbert. So he took a lot of those reps against the 1s and the 2s in that defense at Oregon, and then he was certainly the starter this year. So those are 3 years of reps at a high-level program, a very well-run football program in Oregon. And, those you can't replace those live reps in a guy. So I think it gives him confidence, a calmness. And then so now the variable here is just learning our terminology, learning our offense, what's the code words to the O-line, what's the signals, and then getting his timing down with different receivers.
Go to Sean and then Sam after that.
Coach, you always talk about developing in the weight room and being able to change bodies and follow the process. Which players have taken this off season and have made the best gains in the weight room?
Oh, Sean, a bunch. I think the guys that come to my mind, Josh Berger, one of our old linemen, it was his first real off season, coming in as a grad transfer last year, and COVID hurt there. He's made a lot of gains. Ethan Card, Weston Wright has made some really strength gains. I'm not sure he's gained a ton of weight, but he has really in strength. Jalen Hutchins, Tony Bradford, Tyree Wilson, all those guys are bigger. Our O-line, D-linemen are bigger. I think there's some guys, Brandon Randall has really, when I say leaned up, he's just changed his body and has done a really good job. Those are the guys that really, come to mind besides some of the newcomers that have made good strides. But, we are bigger. I think that's noticeable, and you watch. I heard some of you guys make comments today. We got some other guys that have watched practice and said the same thing. We are bigger, stronger. Development part of this program is going to always be a key component. Recruiting and development. That's how we're going to change this program, and recruiting talent and competitive depth in every room, and then developing that talent once we get them in here.
Go to Sam, then we'll finish with Don.
Matt, when it comes to your January signees that came in that are going through spring ball, is there anything that you've learned or kind of seen from some of these guys that you maybe didn't get a chance to see because you didn't get to evaluate in person them over the last 9 months of 2020?
No, because we saw two parts of that question, Sam. We have the transfers, and then we have the 4 freshmen, right? Because your question was the January transfers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or the high school guys too.
Yeah, so those 4 high school guys, we saw all of them live. So, from an evaluation standpoint, that was huge for us. We saw them throw live. They were either in camp. We saw them compete live. We saw them compete, 3 of them in basketball. So those are the evaluations we had with those guys. So they were not sight unseen. We saw and evaluated all those guys. Now, the transfers obviously were evaluated strictly off film.
I guess as you've gone through that process, and even I know this spring, the dead period's still going until, I think at least May 31st. How do you verify, stuff, when you're not able to do it with your own eyes?
It's hard. That's what's made this recruiting cycle a huge challenge in the last 14 months. We haven't been on the road recruiting in person since the last week in January of a year ago. So whatever that is, 14 months ago. It's made it extremely hard. So now we're doing it, by Zoom and all that. So the evaluation part has to be a really good evaluation from the film and the video, which, from a transfer standpoint, you're evaluating college videos. So that does make it a little easier. And it's just the live interaction, right? The human piece in terms of the recruiting. But it's you got no other choice. So, as we say, it is what it is, but you have to do it FaceTime, phone call, and Zoom calls. And so you just make the best of it.
All right, we'll go to Don.
Hey, Matt, regarding the center position with Dawson Deaton out or limited this spring, when you go team period or 11-on-11 stuff, which of those kind of veteran guys will be like the first or second guy in there taking snaps, taking reps at center?
Yeah, Weston Wright has, Josh Berger, and Clayton Franks. Gotten Caleb Rogers a little bit, not in any team yet. That may come later on down the line, Don. But those 3 predominantly have taken most of the reps with the 1s and the 2s.
And I remember you said a month or so ago that TJ Foreman, it would benefit him to play guard just for his longevity, just for his career looking toward the NFL to be more versatile. With him being a newcomer here, what is the plan for him early in spring? Would you like him to kind of lock in on one position, or do you want to see him still move around a little bit this spring?
Plan early on, Don, to be able to get him comfortable in this offense is putting him at left tackle and right tackle. So keeping him at the tackle position, I think that's the best. We may experiment with him a little bit at guard late in spring, or we may wait till training camp. We haven't made that decision yet, but for this early part of camp, just left in right tackle. And again, another guy that's a football junkie, picks up football really quick. It's important to TJ. It's been great to have here. He's a veteran, mature. He's big. He's strong. He's athletic. He's got good feet. And he's a great addition to the O-line room. I'm glad TJ Storman's here. And, again, another one of those guys that's going to add to the culture of that locker room and kind of how we do things. He does everything the right way. Football's important to him. I'm glad he's a Red Raider.